do the outreach, right?
That's great.
Yeah, what are some of the
Yeah, can you
agencies?
share a few, Chris, or? No.
Yes. So, and I want to say like extra kudos to Helen, who's actually had like probably like 10 hours of actual like FaceTime meetings with representatives from these agencies that have now RSVP to like explain what the event was about. And then after her meetings with them, they're like, yeah, we're coming. So like Helen, like amazing work. And Lauren, like LAC has gotten a lot of like the most senior people into the room. So we're thankful to LAC. So we have several people coming from the Civil Rights Department.
Good call.
And I could be wrong about this. I am so deeply sorry if I am, but I think the Civil Rights Department used to be called the Department of Fair Employment and Housing. So like FEHA, Fair Employment Housing, is that right? So they changed their name a couple of years ago. So they've been around for a long time, but the Civil Rights Department. Department of Developmental Services, several people coming from the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, Department of Healthcare Services, Department of Housing Community Development, Department of Managed Healthcare, Department of Social Services has multiple representatives coming, Employment Development Department, Health and Human Services, Judicial Council of California, of course, and then of course like our partners at the California Housing Finance Agency are interested in coming, and so that's just kind of like where we're at so far. And we were just shooting for about a dozen or so, and I think we've already hit it.
Fantastic.
I think that's great news. I really appreciate what you were saying about that application process, because, as a consumer, I went through that process. I know what it's like. So it's like the questions are just so out in the left field, some of them. And so addressing that issue, I think it's really important to help, address consumer needs, real people, what they're dealing with in their everyday lives and trying to access the benefits that are supposed to be available to people. So great kudos for, that research, and to all of the people involved in helping to advance our strategic planning process, because we're moving in the right direction. I like it.
The example that they gave about the question they dropped from the Social Community Forum is like, what are your hobbies or something? And people were like, well, I love fishing. And then they're like, well, you're denied disability benefits because, but they're like, no, but like before I had a disability, I loved fishing. And then they had to like reapply every time they 4 months would go by, and they're like, let's just get rid of the question. It's clearly not helping.
Yeah.
So the last thing I have is on another thing we're really excited about that our office is working on is now we've been providing training and technical assistance for the commission's grants for many years. Like we always do a webinar when we have when a report form is released to walk the grantees through the report form. If there's a new funding opportunity, we have a webinar to walk them through the RFP. We always provide one-to-one technical assistance whenever grantees ask us for it. But we're excited to launch a more structured kind of grantee input driven training and technical assistance initiative. I mean, technically it's already launched now. But we're excited to report on like what we think the first few months of it will look like. So, and by kind of more structured, I just mean like we're to plan out particular topics and particular kinds of delivery mechanisms months in advance that are synced with key moments in the commission's administration timeline. So particular topics that are synced up with like IOLTA EAF budget submission deadlines, synced up with monitoring visits, that sort of thing. As opposed to like a form just released, we're going to do a webinar, we hope you can make it. So what the launch has sort of looked like is we started with a survey where all of the commission's grantees could provide input. This was in July. We kind of announced it to them generally in May and June at a roundtable. And then we had a survey in July where they could provide input on the types of technical assistance they wanted more of. We asked them about, do you want more webinar trainings? Do you want more grant-specific roundtables where we convene you with other grantees and you can share like peer support with one another, like services delivery strategies? Do you want more like written guides? So when we come on monitoring visits and we ask you like for your policy on something, like we've previously circulated sample model policies that your org can adapt. Do you want more of those sorts of things? More written tools to help you manage the financial aspects of your awards, that sort of thing. And then we asked them about a lot of substantive topics to get a sense. Do you want more like services strategy content? Do you want more like fiscal grants management content? And the like? So we got a lot of data from them in July. Like an overwhelming majority of grantees participated in that survey and provided their data. We've sat with it. We've consulted with One Justice and LAC that both provided tremendous amount of their own technical assistance and training for programs to see like what they're already doing and what they recommend we prioritize. And so here's what we're prioritizing for the next couple of months. So I think Heidi kind of laid the groundwork for this. So we're going to be prioritizing a webinar, and Heidi actually mentioned this earlier, a webinar. This is part of this training and technical assistance initiative. This is not key to a particular grants like RFP or something, but our first one's going to be an August webinar on how to respond to potential findings in your desk audit for your federal award if you're an HP3 or Cal HFA grantee. It's going to be something that all programs are encouraged to watch because they might be interested in receiving future federal funds through us or someone else. But I think it may or may not be required for the HP3 and Cal HFA grantees because it's going to be so relevant to them. But they've been furnishing a lot of information for our team and that may or may not result in them having things that they have to correct, and we're going to walk them through that proactively. So that's the first one. It's high priority. It's kind of timely for all the reasons Heidi described. But then we're going to do, because fiscal grants management was like one of the topics that was most popular, we're going to follow it up with another fiscal grants management topic in September. Heidi's leading both of these webinars. So
With help.
Heidi.
With help.
The fiscal team is leading them with Heidi taking point. The next one's going to be on how to manage, I mean, the scoping of this is, I think, a little up in the air, but it's more or less on how to manage your budgets for the commission's awards that have multiple year spend down periods, especially if you have multiple awards that have multiple year spend down periods, like now 2 consecutive years of IOLTA grants that have multiple year spend down periods, and how especially small and medium-sized nonprofits can actually meaningfully manage that in their fiscal system so that they're reporting accurately and they're not leaving money on the table at the end of the grant period. And that's actually timed really nicely with the submission of their budgets for 2025 funding, which will be due at the end of September. Their budgets will be due at the end of September. And then we're envisioning towards the end of the calendar year, and this is the last thing I'll sort of say, because about what we've planned, is we received a lot of requests for technical written model sample policies for things that we ask for on site visits. When we do our triennial site visits with programs, we ask for a lot of org policies on the program side and the fiscal side, and they've asked for more like examples of the sort of thing we're looking for so they can adapt them to their org and have them ready for us instead of us asking them for them, saying we wish it was better, and then them having to correct it after the site visit. And so all of that's in the spirit of just being proactive, and that's something we're hoping to maybe get out the door by the end of like the calendar year in time for 2025 site visits. Sorry if it went on a little bit too long, but we want to make sure you know that we were doing a more structured kind of like long-term thinking, training, and technical assistance project. That's that. I think that was my last piece.
It's all very exciting, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Well, I'm really excited to see this. This is all like amazing. If I can't visit convening and more training and like this stuff, cool. All right, we have 2 more reports basically from our liaisons. So Melanie and Laura, do you guys have any?
We do.
All right, let's hear it.
So first of all, we are happy to report that we received the BAR's draft report on the distribution of funding for the IOLTA formula grants, the partnership grants, and the Care Court grants under the Budget Act of 2024 from State Bar staff. We will present those to the Judicial Council at their meeting on September 20th, along with our recommendation that they approve the distribution for the IOLTA formula and partnership grants, and as well as the CARE Act funding, distribution of those funds. So we also, to help make sure that we're going to get that funding flowing as quickly as possible, we started very early, thank you, Laura, on drafting all of the contracts and working back and forth, thank you, Duan, with the BAR to make sure that as soon as we possibly can, after we get those approvals, we can get the funding contracts flowing and get that money out. So we're working very diligently on those. Little more updates on the CARE Act. We have had several meetings. We are now providing technical assistance to cohort 2 courts. And so Judicial Council staff are meeting one-on-one with all the rest of the 52 counties that did not go in cohort 1. And so far, so good. Everyone seems to be prepared and they know who they're going to appoint as representation, and the courts are already having processes, so it's looking good. We are also working on a couple of projects to help maybe get some assistance with filling out petitions and work to get increased numbers of participants in the program. So that's what we've been working on for CARE. And then we've also been working diligently with the state bar staff and LAC on the pathways convening. Laura and I are putting together the track for the Shriver grantees, who are many of whom are also qualified legal service programs. And our Judicial Council staff will work with the state bar staff and LAC staff, so that we are working together to give the best presentations and the best convening we can. We hope that the registration is going to open, I think it's next week, and we've got a room block. So if anybody's looking forward to signing up for the Pathways Conference, that information will be coming up pretty soon. And then finally, we are going to be notifying very soon the nominees who were selected to begin their terms on the Legal Services Trust Fund Commission. Their terms will begin in September. So the appointments include a trial court judge, a court administrator, 2 attorneys, a public member, and then the appointments for co-chair and co-vice chairs. So those will be coming along very soon. And that is my report. Are there any questions?
Great.
Okay, I've
Thanks,
left you 5
Melanie.
minutes, Selena.
I will take a lot less than that because it is Friday afternoon. Just a quick liaison update. As Melanie mentioned, we've been working on Pathways to Justice, and I can just say that people are so eager to be back in person that all I have seen is just very positive responses of people saying they can't wait to be there. So we're going to be doing a pre-day where the State Bar and LAC are convening executive directors. Many of whom have never met each other in person, or if they have, it's probably because of our executive director retreats, which y'all helped fund. And so we're just really looking forward to that opportunity to talk with executive directors and have them meet each other, especially because of all the potential technical assistance work that Chris McConkey will be doing. More conversations with leaders about what they need to know from the bar. The other thing, just a quick update that we are continuing to address the needs of coordinated training in our community. A lot of leaders, because they have hired new staff throughout the pandemic, are trying to figure out ways not only to have the training that's necessary kind of upon hiring in your first quarter as a new staff person, but how do you build an opportunity for mentorship and supervision so that people feel connected to their coworkers, because that's really important. So we are having just a lot of conversations about that, and I just wanted to let you know that it's all positive and it feels really good. Although of course, I think phase one of that will be largely by Zoom, because we are a little bit worried about canceling in-person stuff. So, and that's it. Those are our updates. Just a lot of really fun stuff happening.
Great. All right, any remaining comments or questions?
I have just a comment that I really appreciate the great meeting we had today, all the in-depth discussion and all the grantee issues, especially, as a new member of the rules working group, it's really helpful to me, and I really like seeing how when we discover problems with grantee issues, I like how that we're addressing those, and at the same time, we're simultaneously looping back and looking at the rules process and revisions and how to refine the rules. And it's great seeing that our rules are not just static. I mean, we're dealing with issues in real time. When an issue comes up, we immediately start thinking about and talking about the rules right at the same time, how we can keep everything in sync. So I really like that. It's really helpful to me as a new member of the rules working group. So love that. I think we're moving in the right direction in so many things. And I just keep, reflecting back on our strategic planning process. And it's great to see that we're doing it. And it's just a wonderful dynamic process to be a part of. And it's great being part of this great team. And we all care about our community. We care about our families and the individuals and all the consumers who need help. So I think we should give ourselves a pat on the back. So a good job for the while I've been here. Okay.
Yeah. That's a great note to end on. Well, thank you all for the time today. Thank you to the staff. And it's a lot of work on these meetings. Thank you to the commissioners for your thoughtful, engagement in all these issues. And yes, I echo. Very excited to see the next steps we're going to take. This is a very cool time to be on the commission. All right. With that, we're going to end right on time. Minute early. Enjoy your Friday. Thank you guys. Have a good one.
Okay, don't run yet, Eric.